Hello everyone and welcome back to Riverview, our sort of realistic North American themed metropolitan area here in Cities Skylines 2. Oh, it looks so dramatic when I zoom out. Anyways, in the most recent episode we removed all the bus stops attached to the bus station here alongside Sunnyside Avenue, as per one of you guys' suggestions, as it was causing massive bottlenecks alongside Sunnyside Avenue, and yeah, I mean the asset is pretty boring as well. So we jumped into trying to create a fully custom bus hub, and this is the result. We've got Tram integration as well as easy integration to the Riverview Central Station. So we've got a real transportation hub going now. What this also means is that we can effectively just delete this bad boy, and I leave it open to you guys. Provide some suggestions in the comments if you've got an idea for what we can build here. It's a pretty sizable lot and it's very close to the heart of downtown, so for today's episode, we are gonna continue our transportation expansions. We're gonna create a giant bus route, for one, that's going to serve some currently completely unserved parts of the city. But I'm also going to create a new tram route, which might be less successful, we'll see. It's an idea I've had for a while. And then we're probably gonna do a few traffic fixes and road network fixes throughout to kind of try and alleviate any possible bottlenecks. We've still got quite a few traffic issues here in downtown. And as always, before I begin, if you enjoy my content, I would very much appreciate a thumbs up on this video. Thank you. Oh, there's actually one more really cool thing I want to showcase to you guys, because I've grabbed a new mod that's going to satisfy some of you transportation nerds out there, as well as myself. And it's the Extended Transport Manager by Clyde45. And just, yeah, we'll take a look. I'm just gonna sort out the routes we don't really care about, so that we are left with our named established routes, our train line, our tram line, and our 5 main bus lines. And this mod is so cool. So if we select our tram line, we get this really nice overlay of all the stops. We can see which district or neighborhood the stops are in. We can see the distance between each stop, but as you can see here, we can also see the line integration to other lines. So what we see here is that at Sycamore Street, in 2 places, so this is probably right, oh, it's up here probably, we've got direct integration or connection to line 2, 3 and 5 of our bus network. We can also click show vehicles to get an overview of the vehicle as well as their identifier, and we can see just how full they are, you know, how many passengers do they have as a percentage of their total capacity. If we move in here to data, we can see a bunch of cool stuff, but we can also see next vehicle to be retired for maintenance, and then the tram with its specific identifier and the amount of kilometers it has left before it has to enter maintenance. Additionally, we can choose to import city palettes, so the color schemes we use for our transport lines, from some established cities throughout the world. So for instance, if we move into USA, we can actually copy to city some of these established lines. It's really awesome feature. So with all that out of the way, let's start with some of the new features I teased in the introduction. And I think between the massive new bus line and the new tram line, we're actually going to start with the tram line just to kind of mix things up. We've been focusing on buses now for a while, and we haven't touched the tram network for quite a long time. If we don't really count this new extension to the hub in, which I don't, it's just a small thing. And my idea is that we're gonna have a new tram line that is going to, it's gonna be a small one, and it's going to terminate at the hub, or turn rather, and then it's going to serve parts of Briarwood, and it's going to serve the Yard. And the city built this because the Yard is this picture-perfect idea of a new transit-driven development, basically. It's very, very dense, modern developments, mix of workplaces and homes, and hipster coffee shops, and overly expensive burgers, and all that good stuff. And hipsters love trams, so we're gonna give these people a tram line. And I actually expect it to be pretty sufficient and well used, even though it's gonna be rather short, because during rush hour I'm seeing lots of commuting between downtown and other parts of the city and the yard. And one reason is that there's more than 5,000 jobs out here and the population is nearing 3,000. So it's a really dense area, even though it does have, you know, surface parking lots and whatnot. But these skyscrapers, they really just pull their own weight. So let's give these guys a tram. I wanted to say let's give these guys a monorail, but yeah, that's gonna require a really good monorail salesman, I think. So I think for starters, I am just gonna start upgrading some of these stretches, and it's going to be a loop down here. So we're gonna bring the tram line through here, probably connected in here, maybe even for some additional interest. Yeah, that could be fun. We'll see. But we'll get the tram line down to the yard, and then as we enter this crossing here between these two roads, I'm going to change it to a one-way configuration and just kind of create a loop in this direction, serving all the way down here and then all the way around and connecting up back. So getting the actual upgrades in place is our first step. We'll actually need to upgrade these roads with proper tram segments, and I'm gonna enable Anarchy here so it doesn't complain. And I think we're just gonna do a regular upgrade throughout, and then I'm going to change a few roads where it makes sense. So for instance, if we have the 4-lane avenue with a median in the center, then the tram upgrade is going to reduce that to 2 vehicle lanes in either direction. And that's probably not going to be sufficient, so we're going to change this road type. And I mean, this looks kind of fun, but it's probably not going to work, so we'll change it. Very nice. And I am going to be fixing this up now, I think, just so that we don't run into any issues here. I don't think we need an actual crossing or a full like intersection here. I want this main road to be used if you're entering the stadium area, and it's pretty much just Chirpa Bank Field and nothing else down here. So if we disallow left turns here and we disallow left turns here, disable the traffic lights and disable the crosswalks, then that should fix that up. And I'm thinking we can do the same for this small spruce lane segment in Briarwood here. We really don't need this to be a fully fledged intersection. Disallow left turns. Can I? Oh wait, I've chosen right turns. Whoops. I meant left turns. And we'll remove the lights. There we go. So that's gonna make it a little less congested here, hopefully, and enable the tram to actually get through. So continuing the tram tracks alongside Woodland Street, this is where it gets a little more interesting, because we will be using the one-way tram tracks, and I'm gonna come in with move it manipulation mode and make these nodes much more smooth, so we don't get these extreme curves. I want the turns to be as realistic as possible for our tram. So let's see, we can move all the way down here, and then we'll need to upgrade to a regular stretch of road, it seems. Because we can't bring the tram lines alongside these lanes here. But I think that's fine if we were to just manually adjust these to something like this. Then I'm just gonna check. We've got issues here, it doesn't look too bad, so with move it I should be able to align the skyscraper a bit. And do we have some clipping here? We don't, so that actually looks pretty good. We've got a tree here to move, but otherwise pretty good. So let's see, we are gonna continue, and then we're gonna move north and turn here. And we are gonna complete our loop, cross the train here, get ourselves back onto the avenue, and we might have to upgrade segments here as well, but I usually don't have too much south-going traffic here alongside this stretch of Sycamore Street, so we may keep this configuration just because it looks kind of interesting. And of course, there's a good thing in having the tram line be on its own dedicated track as well, without having to share it with traffic. And I think that is pretty much what we want. So I'll be manipulating the nodes now so that we get some proper turns that the trams can actually adhere to. So if we hit M and we hold down Alt, we can start manipulating the actual node. So I'll just drag this segment back and drag this segment back, and then we get a pretty smooth turn here. It's probably as good as it's gonna be, and I'm gonna move in and remove the trees afterwards, don't worry. It's just what happens when you use Anarchy and you do this. So I think here we are gonna do the same, because this turn here is very dramatic. So we're really going to stretch this out and do the very same thing over here. Let's see, can we do even more? We can, something like this. And then I think just for a bit of symmetry, I'm gonna bring this back. I want to be able to have it terminate here at the main hub. But there's really no way of doing that unless we add a single track line here. And then probably do a few manipulations of this node as well to just really create a smooth curve. Just make this interchange look a little nicer. Then we're gonna bring this down, as well as this segment here, so that we get a really nice turn here. And then getting rid of all these Anarchy trees. And let's see, so this turn is quite good. This one is a little dramatic. So we can fix that, make that a little nicer looking. And we need to have an intersection here because this is a dead end road. Oh wait, there's actually an entrance down here as well. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll be removing this intersection then, and I'll remove this one as well alongside Robin Lane, because there's a couple of connections, so there's really no need. So let's just get that done as well. Get rid of the crossings, and this allows some left turns. And no traffic lights, obviously. And in this case, no. Can I? No, why can't I? Oh, is there a? Oh, there's actually a small train segment connected here. Ah, that's weird and unnecessary. So, but I'm just gonna redo this stretch because it's part of the old original train tracks that led into the city. So we're gonna keep them. Okay, things are starting to take shape now, and it seems like this turn here isn't actually too bad, but we may just be able to make it a bit smoother. Because the tram, we gotta remember the cars are actually pretty long, so it does look wonky if the turn is even just a bit too tight. We continue alongside Woodland Street. We've got a bit of, oh wait, yes, of course, this is because this is a custom parking section I made, but it is rather easily fixable. If I could actually grab, well, I can just delete them. There we go. So, oh, what happened there? That messed up that kind of messed up Woodland Street. That's interesting. I'll just get that fixed. So it seems I got that fixed up reasonably well. And I kind of like that it makes just a bit of a slight change here so that it's not completely straight. Anyways, we've got the crossing of Woodland Street and Hawthorne Street, which is obviously gonna need a bit of work as well, given the pretty crazy or dramatic turn we've got here. But we're able to make it quite smooth, actually. Maybe that's even too much. This is probably good, something like this. Sweet, and we've got Hawthorne Street and Lindbergh Street. And it's already a pretty nice turn, so we don't need to do a lot of manipulation here. And when the trams get going, we can always just jump along for a ride and see how they actually handle this. And then do some changes accordingly. So we're doing some changes to Pacific Street, where we've got a lot of traffic. But I mean, there's traffic everywhere by now. In Riverview, it's terrible. And there's probably a crossing here that I would need to fix, and it can't be Olive Lane because that's a dead end. So I'm wondering if we can actually do a little fix to Robin Lane. We probably can. Down here we already fixed this, so things are starting to look pretty nice, and I guess the next step is just getting the actual tram stops planned out and placed down. Actually, let's just try and get Olive Lane fixed before we move on, so I'm just gonna pause and actually delete it. And then we're just going to flip it so that we've got industry facing the other direction. And probably a bit of office as well, because demand for office has overtaken industry. And that's been the case for quite some time now. So in that sense, it's pretty realistic. So I'm just gonna move the train line slightly, and we'll just create this new lane anew. Maybe just to about here. And I'll just try and create a connection here, grabbing this, and let's make a complex curve. Yoink. That didn't connect. Never mind. Sweet. And then let's try a bunch of office as well. Just get that mixed in with the industry. Which reminds me, it's probably time to do even more rezoning here in Old Port, where we've got lots of smokestacks out here that we do not need anymore. Evening rush hour traffic is here, and it's complete chaos. So what better thing to do than introduce a new tram line? Yay! Okay, we'll have to do some more fixes in this episode, that's for sure. But let's try and place a few stops. We've already got stops here at the hub, and yeah, we are going to use those, introducing even more traffic here. It's gonna be quite a challenge, but it is also gonna be fun, I think. Then let's see, can we get 2 stops alongside the avenue here, Sycamore Street, before we actually enter the yard? I think so. I think we're gonna have a stop around here. Or maybe right in front of this park, actually. Now let's do a stop here. Yoink. And then we'll have a stop on this side over here, maybe. Let's see how far are these stops from each other. It's not too bad. And it seems I have another issue here with a train piece that is actually connected to the road, causing the segment to glitch out. So let's add a stop here as well. And we've got, oh wait, that's bus stops. Let's see, we've got 2 stops covering the yard, which is probably sufficient. So let's just have 1 stop alongside the, maybe this area out here. Right around here, I think. Because then the distance from this intersection to this stop and this stop is about the same. And then we'll have an additional stop here. Yoink. And what's left is just to create the new route and watch as the chaos unfolds. This is certainly going to be interesting. And I'm actually not sure I have the capacity, because the tram depot, yeah, even with the garage extension, it only allows for 15 vehicles in total, and all of those are assigned to the current line. So if we use our new fancy mod here, let's just see if we can have a look at the actual usage. So average vehicle occupancy during rush hour is 67%, which is really great. But it's also telling me that we can reduce the amount of vehicles on this line actually. So let's just go ahead and do that so that we can allocate a few vehicles to the other line. I don't really want to get into building a new train depot just yet. We probably have to at some point in time, and that's fine. But for now, I'll reduce this to, I can reduce to 10 vehicles, which is fine. It should allow us to add a few vehicles here, and I think 3 is probably fine. So this is also an overall reduction in the amount of trams, which is probably okay for the traffic situation because they do take up quite a bit of space and we haven't seen 100% occupancy just yet. Oh my goodness, things are looking bad. So obviously one of the main issues is we've got a traffic jam here at this crossing, and we've got a perpetual traffic jam at the roundabout here, at least during rush hours in the mornings and the evenings. And I mean, the buses are part of the problem because they're so closely bundled together, of course, but you know, this one is full, this one is full, this one is empty, this one is half full, more than half full, this tram is full, this tram is full. So I mean, there's a lot of people here confined to buses and trams, so it would likely be worse if they weren't here. At least that's kind of my logic, but there's definitely an issue with the off-ramp I've created here, because as I've noticed, pretty much no cars are turning left here, obviously, because they'd probably just enter the roundabout here. So I think I can relieve some congestion here if I actually provide a direct access into Birdsong Street, which isn't all that cramped right now. So we're gonna try this out. I mean, desperate times require some desperate measures, and I think times are slightly desperate. I'm gonna delete all this good stuff here, and we're gonna create this ramp anew. And yeah, this is certainly going to be an interesting idea, but I just need to try and get less traffic to intercept with these main streets here, because they are causing a lot of trouble. So let's just disable snapping and just about move across. And we'll do this manually because I need to drop the elevation as quickly as possible. 7.7%, I think that's fine. Yes, there we go. And then we've got some connection issues here, but I think if we remove this guy and upgrade this to a 4-laner, maybe even a 5-lane asymmetrical. Oh wait, we'll go for a 4-laner here and 5-lane asymmetrical here, because I expect that, you know, there'll be a lot of traffic here now. But I mean, Sunnyside Avenue can take a bit more of a beating currently. It's mainly Sycamore Street that's causing the issues in these parts. So I don't know just how efficient this change is gonna be, but I am going to try it out at least. And 7.5% is way too much, obviously. So let's move it and just get that much lower, because that really isn't necessary. And things over here are looking fine. And let's see in here. So we'll probably going to upgrade this to a 2x1, and then to maximize traffic volume, we'll do something like this instead. Yoink. And no U-turns allowed. No U-turns allowed here as well. And yeah, this is the new traffic mod I'm using, which is basically the successor to Traffic Manager President Edition. It seems to be, at least. Very nice tool set. I'm looking forward to seeing how this is actually going to work out. It's obviously not going to magically fix this in one moment, so I will probably need to revamp some of this mess at some time at least, because it's just way too cluttered. And it's a bit of an issue as well with this connection with Poplar Street, because that's also costing some time getting this traffic offloaded. So we're gonna take a leap of faith and create our first pedestrianized segment here in Riverview. Very unorthodox for me, but I'm just gonna try it, see if I can relieve some traffic here at least. And our new trams, which are just purple colored by default before we select a proper color, they're making their way east towards or alongside Sunnyside Avenue, and will enter the main roundabout in just a second. So it's gonna be very interesting to see them out on the new route. While we wait for the new tram line to settle, we are going to do some debugging of our existing RTA blue line, because I would like to think that I knew something was wrong when I noticed, that, I'll just grab the tram tools, that this part of the track we see here didn't conform to the actual stop we've created here. But I didn't know what was actually wrong, so I'm so happy to once again be able to highlight the many wonderful comments I get, and this one kind of explains just what the issue is, but I didn't know that this was possible. So if you can see here, we've got two lines, two arrows very close to each other, and what this actually showcases is that we've got two actual lines here, like separate parts of the same single line, if that makes sense. One of them goes straight and actually adheres to the stop, and the other one just continues. And if I move back here to our depot, we see that this additional line that I've created by some mistake, or this additional loop within the same line rather, it kind of terminates here, so it uses the depot to turn around and move back onto the tracks. Because if we check this part of the line, things are looking all right. We've got a single line that just stops at each stop, no issue. But if we move up to Sycamore Street, we'll see this very issue here, right? So there's actually two lines here. One adheres to the stop and the other part of it just continues straight through. And if I move over to East Riverview, I see that things are looking all right here as well. The line acts as was intended. So it would seem that somewhere along here, alongside Sycamore Street, or maybe out here in the college, I've made some sort of mistake that has made the line create an additional loop. And I also suspected something was wrong because the length of the line is more than 22 kilometers. And I wouldn't say I'm like an expert on scale, but I'm pretty sure that from the airport into Riverview, into East Riverview, and then terminate out here in the southern suburbs of East Riverview, it's not 22 kilometers. I mean, it's probably more than 10, but it's not that much. So yeah, something is wrong. But I guess this comment really helps out, because I think one way to debug it is just to I'm gonna try and remove the stops that I have placed here and see if I just remove all of those, then hopefully that's going to narrow it down. And it might even be these waypoints that are causing it, because I've now disconnected it from all the stops alongside Sycamore Street, as well as the main hub here. So all that's left are some of these waypoints, and I can imagine that's how I messed it up. Placing a waypoint somewhere that doesn't make sense. So if we just try and remove those for starters. And yeah, so that seems to be the issue, because now we don't have the loop here, and I bet if we move back to the depot, yeah, we don't have the loop here as well. So I guess that was the issue. So I think I gotta be careful with my tram layouts, because apparently I can easily mess up, and I wonder how long the line actually is now. 15 kilometers. Okay, so, oh man, I wonder how long I've had this issue. Probably for a really long time, because it's been a while since I've been messing with the tram network and created those waypoints. So yeah, slightly embarrassing, but it's good that you guys can save my ass. So I'm just gonna get this connected up, and hopefully everything is going to flow much better now. And I want to highlight another interesting suggestion in the comment section, which is this one, suggesting that if I move these stops here to the very end of this extra lane that the stops create, the buses are gonna stop a little later, and it's going to create more space basically, not just I guess for an additional bus to queue up, but also for the pedestrians that are blobbing up here. So I think I'm gonna try it at least. We've got a blob here amassing at this stop for, what line is this? It's the RTA 5, which is always very popular. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and pause. We'll select the stop here. We'll relocate it, and then if I have Anarchy on, I should be able to move it a bit further back here, and then we should see some of these people. Some are probably just gonna leave because the Sims sometimes act in weird ways. Yeah, but maybe some others are going to relocate here and then kind of fill out this more evenly. So I'm just gonna move ahead and do that throughout. I mean, worst case is that it doesn't really improve anything, but things are pretty bad to start with, so why not just try it? Judging by how this queue is looking now, this was actually a pretty good change. So yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for all the input. It's really helping me improve the city. Now for the bus routes, while we're waiting for the trams to settle. I think things get so hectic and busy here, at least with this current hub layout, that before I create any more big lines, I have tried to identify some sections where we might be able to implement express lines to kind of ease the burden of some of these existing lines, because things are getting really busy. And I've noticed a trend as well, and it's no surprise, I guess. It makes logical sense. The biggest amount of traffic we're seeing during rush hour is between downtown Riverview and downtown East Riverview, or at least East Riverview in general, but especially downtown, which has a very high population density. And one thing that seems to be the case is that the red line here, which, if you guys remember, stretches all the way from Kendrick out here on the east side of the metro area, goes through East Riverview, and then goes to, you know, it goes alongside Sycamore Street and connects to the hub. It's seeing a ton of traffic, or, you know, commuter demand during the early morning rush hour, which is about now. It's 5 o'clock basically. And most of these people, if I check their destination, they're trying to enter downtown Riverview or close vicinity to downtown Riverview. So I think something that could be pretty efficient is to have an express route that connects downtown East Riverview to the downtown Riverview hub. Because we've got Love Island here, which has the Admiral Bridge and the Pilgrim Bridge, allowing for a direct crossing here. So I think we're gonna try this out. So I'll try and designate this express route, grab our bus line tool, and we'll just start at this very stop here, where we have so many people waiting. And then I suppose I'll just add a waypoint here so that we can get an additional stop going alongside this street, just to pick up a few more people. And then it's gonna cross the 2 bridges and the island and get a direct connection going to downtown Riverview. And we're gonna move back here. Let's see. And we might even, instead of just having it be a regular line, because it really wouldn't make sense to have an additional stop here, we might even just have an additional stop down here to pick up a few more people, because this is a really dense area as well. So I think I'm going to add a stop right around here, just adding it as a waypoint for now. And then I'm gonna complete the route. And I'll grab the regular stop sign for this stop here. Just get that connected. Yank. And then that did work, right? There you go. Yeah, after that whole tram failure, I'm very careful with my waypoints and my stops from now on, I promise. And then I think we'll create a stop here as well. and just grab the waypoint very importantly and connecting that up. And we've already got a few people lined up. So we've got Miss Patty Keaton here, and she is going to work at the Crazy Colibri, which I assume is close to downtown East Riverview. Yes, it's on the northeastern part of downtown. Perfect. Anyways, we should probably name this properly. So let's see, we'll just do, for now, we'll do RTA 6E for Express, and it's just Riverview, East Riverview. And if you guys have suggestions for better naming schemes for our bus lines, then I'm all ears. It's assigned 3 buses, which is probably fine for starters. I guess we can do 4, but we'll start with 3 and then I can increase it so that they are kind of split up a bit more on the line, because yeah, like I've been complaining 10 times by now for the past couple of episodes, the bus depots are just gonna spawn all the buses we need, and they're gonna just drive as a big hugging gang before they eventually, with time and a lot of time, start to spread out through the line. Super annoying. Oh, and we can't forget our color, obviously, so let's go for an orange color. And I should say that I'm planning a small revamp of the hub here, because as we discussed in the previous episode, there are too many crossings here alongside Sycamore Street, and there's probably no real way of solving this without actually removing this intersection. So what I'm planning on doing is remove this stretch of Poplar Street here, remove all these buildings, and then connect the tram tracks and the dedicated BRT tracks to this crossing here, so that cars and other vehicles can just go straight through this area here with no pedestrian crossings. I would do it now in this episode, except I'm actually facing a bug currently, presumably with one of my mods, where I can't actually delete these segments. I've tried all kinds of combinations with and without Anarchy, and I get this error message: roundabout upgrade cannot be used at an intersection with non-standard lane connections, which I don't think I've seen before, and I didn't encounter this issue yesterday when I just quickly tried to see how it would feel deleting this. So I'm assuming it's something new, but it's kind of stopping my plans, at least for redoing the hub in this particular episode. And it's actually a pretty crazy issue. Like, I basically can't delete any of these highlighted segments or these, and it looks super weird that it chooses to bundle all these together. So I'm assuming there's an issue with a mod, because it worked fine just yesterday evening, but I mean, it could be on me as well. We know I make mistakes, but it's pretty much blocking development of this area for now, at least, so that's a bit unfortunate. So I've had to come up with some other ideas, and I think we're gonna stick to the express line theme we've now got going by actually creating a tram express line as well. Because we've pretty much got the same situation with the blue line as for some of the bus lines, and that is that some of the central stops, so this is right up here, just west of downtown, and then all these stops here are super busy, and then the next stop that is super busy is 230 Summit Street, which, if you guys recall, is over here in downtown East Riverview. But otherwise, many of these stops are not as busy. Now, obviously, some of them do actually have people, but compared to the 1,312 people on 230 Summit Street, it's nothing. So instead of introducing many more trams, because that's really not the plan, I'm going to segment the lines a bit differently, so that we'll have an express line that goes directly from Summit Street on East Riverview and then to our hub here. And hopefully that's going to help us spread out some of the congestion a little better. We're gonna try at least. And I guess this is actually going to require this loop here to be used then. So let's just go ahead and we'll create a new route starting from here. And we are going to bypass Well, there's a lot of people here, but they're actually waiting for the bus. We are going to bypass all these stops here. And directly connected to 230 Summit Street, and then connected right back up. And that's pretty much just gonna be the new line. And then I just have to check over here, how long does it have to travel to actually be, yeah, okay, so it has to travel down here, which is not really optimal. Do we actually have people waiting here? Not a lot of people, but I guess, yeah, I really don't want it to make any stops here. That can be picked up by the blue line, which is like the big general line that covers much of the city. Let's check in on the newest tram line we built, or the first one we built rather. Tram line 1, nice. So it's got what, 3 cars? Oh, it's only got 1 active car on the line right now, but it is also relatively new. This one is full, picking up passengers to go home, I presume, because it's starting to get a little late in the afternoon, so people are traveling home because these other stops here, Woodland Street and Pacific Street, is here in the vicinity of the yard. I don't really have a lot of passengers. Oh, we've got a second car here with about 90 passengers. So yeah, it's this one, which is entering Riverview. So I think the line is fairly successful, because I did notice that during the morning rush hour, there was a lot of traffic, a lot of usage, sorry. And the usage level is actually pretty high now as well. So I'm just gonna give this a random color and not really name it, because I think I desperately need some suggestions for how we should name our tram lines as well. Because I guess they should be distinctive from the bus lines, but still follow the overall theme. So yeah, I'm up for suggestions. It seems we're starting to see a bit of usage on our direct connection line as well, going from Riverview to East Riverview, which is very nice. I'll just make that a shade of green, and yeah, once again, not gonna name it because we'll need something proper. Let's take a little look at our bus situation to see if the new express route is doing it's doing great. 111%. Okay. So I guess it's over capacity really, and probably needs a few more buses. 154. 416, 289, and 279. So yeah, we definitely just need to bump this up to 6 so that we can get more buses on this line. And I assume it's going to relieve a bit of the pressure on some of the other lines that have more stops, in particular the, well, both the yellow line, because it goes to the college area in East Riverview, and of course the red line, which goes straight through East Riverview to connect to Kendrick. And it's pretty cool to see the usage percentages increase in real time, especially as we're starting to enter the afternoon rush hour, which I guess is going to last for the next couple of hours, and we'll see a lot of traffic pour out of Riverview. And some of the job hubs in the north and south of the metro area. As people return home, usage is quickly jumping to more than 60% for our major lines, 70%. Okay, so things are really kicking up now. And it's going to be interesting to see if the hub can actually manage all this traffic. Yeah. So it would be really nice to be able to redo it, but I guess I'll have to wait for the next episode, because I expect I can find some way to fix this issue before that. It's probably related to some mod or a recent update. So I think that's gonna be a wrap for now. We did manage to establish some new tram lines, some express lines, as well as a certified hipster coffee burger line to the yard. As well as the first express bus route, which is very, very efficient, so far at least. As well as some nice tweaks of the bus hub with changing some of the placement of these signs, which makes for a much more aesthetic queues. I say that, but yeah, okay, never mind. Anyways, I think overall it was a good change, and of course I managed to fix our RTA blue line so that it didn't have a weird loop, and hopefully that's also just in general gonna improve the traffic situation in the city. And now I'm hopeful I can get this issue we are seeing with me being unable to delete stuff fixed for the next episode, because then the focus is going to be redoing the hub here, hopefully getting a much better connection, and looking into some of these new major bus lines as well. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, even though it was a bit of a mix of different things, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Want to thank you all once again for all the support and all the comments. Goodbye.